Steven, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
I actually saw you in Cincinnati, well, pretty close to Cincinnati a few weeks ago. You opened for Newsboys and Skillet. And
Yeah,
how's the summer tour been going?
it's going great, man. I mean, we've had a couple roadblocks. The first show, I think, with Skillet and Newsboys, we got rained out. There was lightning. We almost lost like all of our gear. it was rough, and then we had a van breakdown. But that's just Satan, man. He's just trying to keep us from the shows.
Yeah, having a few final Spinal Tap moments already, you know.
Yep, a few of them, dude. Yeah, we lost our guitar player. You know, he just
Your drummer exploded.
He exploded on stage.
You're too young to know that movie, though. That's for sure. So
No, I'm not, man. I've seen it. Goes up to 11.
That's awesome. So one thing that a lot of people that I just recently learned about you is people tend to have a story about how they got into music. And yours is unique because it kind of ties along the lines with like Lauren Daigle, where they had a debilitating sickness and she spent all of her time in her bedroom working on her craft. And you kind of had a similar story like that with your accident. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So I was about 9 years old and I was in a jet ski accident, lost hearing in my left ear. And I was super young, so I couldn't exactly play outside because my inner ears were off. And so my balance, was off. And like before the accident, I was just like a normal kid. I played like Little League baseball and, played outside in the woods and all that. But my mom, instead of like, getting me some video games or putting me in front of a TV, she gave me her old guitar, taught me how to play some chords. And she played in college, so she already knew, and taught me how to play piano. And yeah, from that moment on, I've just never stopped playing music and similar thing. Just always, that was my life since then.
And I know Brian Wilson, for instance, from the Beach Boys, has hearing issues and stuff too. Has that affected your playing at all too? I mean, or has it made it better? How do you think that's affected your career?
So it's affected it in some ways, like for people that know what panning is. So there's a song "Meant to Live" by Switchfoot where it goes da da da, or like flips between your right and left. So things like that, I have no idea what that sounds like. And I remember I'd heard that song before the accident. Like they were my favorite band since I was like a little kid. And I remember hearing it after the accident, with earbuds. And I was like, this must be like a different version or something. Like what they do to it. I want to hear the song. But I got to tell them that story. I told them I got to go on their bus and kind of hang out for a minute. I was like, yeah, I think your song was like one of the last songs I heard in stereo. And I think they thought that was kind of cool. So,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
So you are a rocker. There's no doubt about that. Doing some research on you and everything, like, you're a 70s, 80s rocker guy. And then Switchfoot was monumental in the start of your career. And you've had the opportunity to meet Switchfoot a few times. Has John Foreman given you any advice going forward into your career?
I wish I only got to talk to John for a minute. For a couple minutes, but I hope I just got questions for him, dude. If I can talk to him and not cry, within like a couple minutes of meeting him, that would be great. But no, just his heart, you can kind of see it. And I've seen him live 15, 16 times, throughout my life, and just the way he sees the audience as the most important thing when he's on stage, and he just cares so much. And he's awesome. He's definitely an inspiration.
So a lot of your lyrics really wrestle with the struggle of depression and anxiety. And I feel like now more than ever, I mean, that is something that people are more outspoken about their battle. I mean, everybody wrestles with that. So what have you gone to in your lyrics to help address that? If you had to give advice to somebody wrestling with depression and anxiety, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, if anybody ever, sends me a message on Instagram or anything, and that tells me they're struggling with depression or anxiety or anything, my first advice is for them to go talk to someone. Because that's the main thing that helped me, is I talked to a professional counselor and he walked me through and gave me steps. But, this might sound kind of controversial, but, the brain is a part of the body. Nowhere in scripture that I can find says that your brain is your soul. Sometimes it's not a spiritual thing. It's sometimes it's like a broken bone, or it's like a sickness. And there's just different medicines to help it. Sometimes it's just, one thing with me is my counselor said I have this thing called flooding, where I get all these questions and everything just like jams in my head all at the same time. And my fight or flight response, turns on, and I start having an anxiety attack, a panic attack. And he just gave me some tools of how I can calm down, and sort of get through it, and sort of stop thinking, kind of turn my brain off. For me, it's sitting outside on a porch, no phone, no anything, just sitting down and sort of resting. And then the biggest thing overall that's helped me is reading scripture and prayer. Like that's, first thing in the morning, stuff like that has really, really helped me. But, and the album too, like it does talk a lot, that's where my story, my story is in the album for sure. But, there's people out there too that don't struggle with depression and anxiety. And I might be wrong on this, but I don't know if I used the word anxiety in the album one time. And that was very much on purpose because, for those people that don't struggle, they still have bad days.
Sure.
Life always has a way of dealing us a bad hand. And, we need to know that Jesus is the answer, and that's really what the record's about. It's not a mental health album, even though that's what it was about for me. I hope, for other people, it can be just like we all need Jesus. That's the only way through this life, at least,
So speaking of the new album, 14 tracks on it.
Yeah.
Crazy. Even the lead single has over 3 million streams. I mean, did you ever expect that right off the bat?
Dude, I still have like I just have crippling imposter syndrome at all times. Right? So I don't know, dude. I just, I pray for things to do well. Like I pray all the time. I just pray people hear it and are able to check it out. But, I'm at a place now where I'm just going to trust in God, and whatever it does, that's what God wanted it to do. So, but yeah, man, it's a blessing.
If you could be told, if God could just grant you one wish for your album, what's that one? What would be your request?
Well, I know we talked about lyrics, and I talked about Switchfoot and Need to Breathe. Like those are some of my favorite bands of all time. But I wanted my record to be very overt in what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about my faith. And my one wish is I just hope it makes an impact, and hopefully someone that's struggling with their faith or maybe has no faith, maybe that could be an open door. So that's my one wish, is that's the kind of impact that it has.
That's great. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. I appreciate you taking some time today to meet with me and do this over Zoom, and can't wait to see you again. I mean, that was the first time I saw you a few weeks ago. And so I'm like, man, I knew No Hopeless Soul and everything. I was like, oh, this guy's got a great voice, and I hope he has a long, successful career. And I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Dude, thank you so much for having me on.
By the way, one of our coworkers, Shannon, huge Stephen Stanley fan, and I would be remiss if I didn't, at least tell you hi on behalf of her. So
hey, Shannon.
Sounds good. All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Thanks, man. See you.